would God want to, or the universe or source, why would they want suffering and disease? But we always learn something from that. I learn from my suffering all the time.
Mhm.
It's not always comfortable, but healing's not comfortable. It's also not an event. It's a process. Hey everyone, I am Gail Lynn, and this is your Superior Self.
Gail, thank you for
Trey,
taking the time to hang out with me today. Um,
you're welcome.
yeah, I had to have you on just because like your modality for healing is so different. I've never heard of this before meeting you or reading your bio, and I had to have you on because like I think this is a game changer for people. And for someone who is into healing and alternate modalities, I had to have you on. I wanted to know more about your modality. So, what is the harmonic egg? And just like, for someone who's listening, like myself, who has no idea what it does, what would you tell them?
So, the harmonic egg uses frequencies, vibrations, sound waves, light waves in a resonant chamber with sacred geometry, Tesla mathematics, Edgar Cayce consciousness, Royal Rife consciousness. It is a download from my higher self, from creator, from God, from consciousness, whatever you believe in, whatever word you use. And I just happen to be crazy enough to listen and bring it through. But I have had so many dialogues with Edgar Cayce, Royal Rife, Nikola Tesla, the research I've done on sacred geometry, and then bringing together the spiritual forces of sound and the spiritual forces of light in this human being, which is really a vibrational being of light. And I thought, well, this will be pretty cool. Let's see how we can, bring this together. And then I wanted to use the egg shape. So the harmonic egg is in the shape of an egg. It's made out of wood, which is unique because of the acoustic properties inside. It's harmonics, so there's music and colored light inside. You're reclined in a zero gravity chair for 40 minutes of music and 10 minutes of silence. And the silence is the game changer. The silence is where everything happens, where the magic happens. And after that period of silence, you come out, people feel lighter and they feel heavier. They feel emotional and they feel tingling sensations. So there is no one size fits all. The egg energy seems to interact with the human energy field to find the imbalances and work on them to bring you back to homeostasis or balance. It's a bit of magic, but it's subtle energies. And I think we're looking at this meaning frequencies and sound and light being the medicine of the future.
Mm. Hmm. So, this harmonic egg, how big is it? Like, I guess people can walk inside of it, and then I guess sealed inside this mechanism.
You say sealed, and all those claustrophobia people are like, no. So no, it's very large. It's 11 foot by 11 foot by 7 foot as a footprint. But it's quite spacious inside. And there's a doorbell in the side pocket. So if you have a technician or what we call egg guardians that put you into the egg, you can ring the doorbell. You can even push the door open on your own because they're just on drawer slides.
Mm.
So it's quite large inside. And a 7 foot tall person can recline inside.
Okay, cool. Um, so I'm 6'1", so I should have no problem in there whatsoever.
You won't have a problem. It'll be really comfy for you.
Awesome. So I walk into this, um, gently slide the door, not lock it. Um, so I'm feeling comfortable already, right? Like, and what am I experiencing when I go in?
So the first thing when you walk into a center, they're going to do a little bit of an intake. So they're going to help you to determine what you want to set your intention around for that setting. And it can be pretty much anything. But once you get into the egg and you're reclined in the zero gravity chair, you have the parabola of the egg. The two sides have speakers. And so on those two sides, you have, I've had sound engineers and light engineers help me to design the sound system and the light system for the cubic airspace inside the egg. And so you have 360 degrees of immersion of this music. And it's quite interesting because everybody experiences the music in a different way. You might hear it behind your head, you might hear it above, you might hear it behind or in front. And it's really just the two speakers on the side. So it's really interesting how that space and the acoustics work with the music. And there are some pieces of music that do not work with the egg. There are some pieces of music I find that do not resonate with the frequency of the egg. And I think some of it has to do with the musician's ego, which is interesting. Some of it has to do with it being maybe an MP3 file, which is very cold and clinical because you compress the integrity and the quality of the music. So the more I work on this and the more I improve it, the more I have to improve the music. As the egg raises its vibration and Mother Gaia raises her vibration, the music is changing. So what used to resonate, it needs to be changed. It's really been an interesting process.
Mm. You're speaking my language. You had me at Edgar Casey consciousness.
Ah, I
Can you
have
can
a
you talk
lady.
about that? Like,
Yeah, no, I read all of his books and just was really fascinated by him. And one of my mentors was speaking the same language that I'm reading in his books. And I said, "Do you know Edgar Casey?" And he said, "No, never heard of the guy." And it was really weird because Edgar Casey wrote an essay called Auras, the last thing that he wrote. And it said, paraphrasing, if somebody could bring together the spiritual forces of sound and the spiritual forces of light, it'd be a great modality for the future.
mhm.
He also said that he wishes he could have heard some of his readings because he had to be asleep. He was the sleeping prophet, and he could really read a person's body from 1,200 miles away or further. So my mentor ends up being born 2 years, January of 45, he was born. I think Edgar Casey passed away in January of, I want to say 43. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think 2 years later. And he brings together the spiritual forces on sound and light in a light box that's a rectangular light box and became my mentor. And he also could do these readings on people while he was awake.
Mm.
So it was very strange how I got to know him. But I remember him saying to me, "You have parasites." Now, I've spent time in Mexico. I had Montezuma's Revenge. I've been in Egypt eating steak tartare. Not real smart when I'm in my 20s. And I said, "How do you know?" And he just looked me up and down and he said, "I can see them."
Hmm.
And I watched him over a period of 5 or 6 years do this to people. One nurse came into my center at one point and said, "Well, the doctors told me I have cancer." And he looked her up and down like he looked at me with the parasites and said, "No, you don't. You have fibroids." And she said, "You're crazy. Like the doctors told me I have cancer. I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids. This is awful. What am I going to do?" He said, "Get a second opinion." And she did, in fact, and she just had fibroids. Very strange. And there was so many things that I said, I wish I had these gifts. But how weird would it be that you could see transparent through someone's body?
Yeah.
I mean, what are your relationships like? And we would be sitting at in a restaurant and he would say, "Can you see the blood flow of that lady? And it's going the wrong way." I can't see that.
Mhm.
And so over time, with the use of sound and light, I think we can come closer to our higher self. I think we all have these gifts in our own way. And I have created the gift. I can't see transparent through someone's body, but someone will come into my energy field and I was like, "Oh, they have staff," or, "Oh, they have something, something." I can also smell people. which is a blessing and a curse.
Mhm.
But I'll be in an elevator and somebody will leave the elevator and I'll smell heavy metals or a very pungent urine smell. Not that they wet their pants, but that they have either a kidney or a bladder issue. Sometimes I'll smell a rancid oil smell. Maybe they have a fatty liver. So it's very interesting that this developed even more while I was using the harmonic egg, lifting that veil that we have. We have that veil where we're told you can't, you're not powerful, you're not sovereign, you're not this. And we can lift that veil and
Mhm.
we can find our sovereignty and find our power, and we can be our best self when we become one with the cosmos.
Hmm. One with the cosmos. Have you always had that philosophy?
No.
No. So when did that change for you? When did you start realizing, awakening almost to these concepts?
So I believe that I had this gift ever since I was born, but I thought everybody, could open up a book and find the answer, and so I went through life thinking that everybody had this gift. But I got married at 21, divorced at 23, remarried at 28, divorced at 30, and that was the greatest common denominator in my failed relationships. It takes two, but I basically was horribly perfectionist, stuck in fight or flight, always wanting something more, and never really satisfied with where I was in the present moment. And so always trying to be an overachiever, worked in automotive, worked in telecom, worked in Hollywood. And after a series of, 25 years and three careers, I found myself in severe cardiovascular stress with a diagnosis of, on the verge of an instant heart attack. And I was 37.
Hmm.
So I knew I had to make some life changes. And I knew that the universe had been trying to speak to me, but I wasn't listening. I was too busy trying to achieve the next goal, get the next career, make the next dollar, blah, blah, blah. You know the story. And I said, you know what? I'm going to take a step back. And basically, it was like a bad country song. I lost my job. I lost my house. I lost my dog. So play that album backwards to get my dog back, get my house back, get my job back, right? And so it was quite comical. And I realized that life really happens in the present moment. And for us to be present, to really experience life. But as a project manager and executive producer, you're learning from the past and you're looking to the future, budgeting, timing, all the tasks that need to be done. And I finally found myself in a really dangerous position if I didn't change my life. And so that's kind of what turned things around.
Hmm. So the universe was trying to send you signals, and you just weren't, I
No,
guess, open to them, or what?
I was
Like,
too, my ego was way in the way and I kept getting little taps on the shoulder. It
what
was,
would they come as? Like, what signs?
oh gosh, let's see. The one sign was hilarious because in 2007, that's when the movie was released. That's when I found the light box. And the first thing that happened was I decided to move to Colorado. And I thought, this light box is pretty cool. Maybe I'll do something like that. And the message was another couple was going to be creating a space for the sound and light therapy in Colorado. And I thought, okay, well, I'll just support them. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing because I'm a great project manager, great chief operations officer. I'm good at corporate. Well, then it was a couple and she moved away and her husband passed away. And I thought, oh my gosh, like this is the sign I'm supposed to do this. It was waiting for me. So things like that have happened all along the way. Really beautiful, synchronistic, serendipitous things. I don't believe there's any accidents and I don't believe there's coincidences.
Hmm.
Everything happens for a reason. So of course I took the ball and ran with it, but I thought before I took the ball and ran with it, oh, maybe I should get a corporate job. I was dating an evangelist at the time, and he said, one of the biggest sins is not using your God given gift. So it confused me a little bit. because I thought my God-given gift is corporate organization and project management and operations. It's not health and wellness. That's a hobby. Who does that as a career except for a doctor? And so I got off the track a little bit there. And then the, the little taps on the shoulder again. And I ended up flying to Arizona, met with this gentleman who was the inventor of the light box. So many serendipity things happened there. And I even knew on my way to Arizona, when I come back, my life's going to be changed. I don't know how it's going to be changed, but it's going to be changed. And it was. So I come back and I said yes to this opportunity to open up a wellness center with a sound and light therapy. So that was kind of my fourth career.
Wow. Yeah, there's so many different signs that I see as well. Just went out to LA. I don't know if people heard that episode or not, but there's an episode where I talk about that and the signs that I was given to push me out there. Still don't know really why. Maybe it's just to be in that energy out there in LA because it's a little different than the East Coast and where I'm from. It's just more laid back. I don't know. Maybe I don't know, something about it just kind of like when I'm there and it's the ocean, it just seems like right to me, like gets me back into that, in touch with that higher consciousness and higher self, and we'll see where that goes. But um yeah, I'm right there with you. I think healing is just so fascinating to me because you talk about being light beings and you're talking about sound and light energies, right? And how that can heal us. For those who may have never heard of this, right? Like, how does sound and light heal the body?
So if we're vibrational beings of light, I decided that we should heal with sound and light. And all my guides and all my spider senses and everything just kind of was like, yes, yes. I have a ringing in the ear when I'm correct in my thinking and I'm on the right path. It'll just be a little ring and then it goes away. And then I have my guides speak to me from the right side.
Oh, hold up. You have a ringing in your, I have a ringing in my ear all the time. It, it's like, I don't know. I just think, I thought it was like something wrong, like wrong with my ear. But the more I hear about it, like it gets louder as like sometimes I don't know. Like,
Well, you got to listen, and I'll go back and answer your question in a minute, but you have to listen. So I find that if we don't listen, it gets louder and louder and louder until we say, I got it. And I actually had one of my center owners email me today, and she said, I have a client. Every time she comes in, her ear hurts. Does she have ear inflammation? I'm like, every single time her ear hurts. She said, yes. I said, the message I'm getting is that it's her guides trying to speak to her while she's in the egg. And maybe she's interpreting the hurt as a hurt, but it's maybe just them trying to come through.
mm,
So I would say anytime we have a pain in our body and we don't listen to it, it's going to get worse and worse and worse until we listen to it. Just like Louise Hay in all of her books and Michael Lincoln, Messages from the Body. I think everything has a message for us. Dolores Cannon's daughter, Julia Cannon, has a book called Soul Speak, which is brilliant. One of my more favorite books. So when I started learning about sound and light therapies and sound and light healing, I found a book by Kay Gardner called Sounding the Inner Landscape. Now she's passed, but she was actually the most influential person that of 98 books that I read. And she started talking about the sine wave of the flute. And it's a very simple sine wave, just a couple little jaunts. And what I found is it really works to help the liver. Then there's the sound wave of the piano that looks, somewhat like an EKG of the heart. I find that it's working to balance the autonomic nervous system. The sound wave of the drum to help build the immune system and increase the white blood cells, as we've done live blood analysis, before and after. So if every instrument works with different organs, it's a brilliant concept. So I started really digging deep into that. And as I put people into the Harmonic Egg and I was playing flute music, they would come out and say, I really felt that in my liver.
mm,
Or some people don't yawn. I found this out, I've seen probably 15,000 clients. And after listening to piano, they start yawning. Well, it's parasympathetic activity. You're getting out of fight or flight and you're getting into the parasympathetic nervous system and you're yawning. So, and their stomach is gurgling, their digestion, the rest and digest is kicking in. So then I started saying, okay, how can we use this information and incorporate the colors and the chakras? And what is an imbalance in the chakra causing? So, an imbalance in the chakra, say you have some teeth problems for your teeth, it can be an imbalance in the root chakra. So, we're using drumming music to bring the root chakra back into balance and red light to bring the root chakra back into balance. It's so fun. I'm such a nerd. I'm such a
Mhm.
dork. I was like, okay, so if we do this, how can we do this? And then what about the music? What about the musicians? What about the tones? So then I met Ani Williams, and she's brilliant. She can listen to your voice and use a digital tuner to tell you what tones you're missing. So if you're missing the E tone, likely you may have asthma, emphysema, lung problems. So bringing the tone of E into your body, into your field, in the color yellow can harmonize that. It is so fun. It's so amazing. And so I teach this to my egg guardians so that when someone comes in, we can't treat or diagnose. There's some of the egg owners are medical professionals, but most of them are just beautifully heart-centered, high-vibing individuals that want to serve. And so they have all this information in their training manual about the tones that are missing, the colors, and how an imbalance in a chakra can cause certain ailments, and how certain instruments can bring certain chakras back into balance. And they have this beautiful training. It's a lot of hours of training that I put them through so that they can tune into the client and help them set their intention. Because once you go into the egg, we help you set an intention as well, which is brilliant. Because when two or more are gathered, there's more power. So if I'm holding a space for you for your intention to say, find a new job, something that you love, and the egg guardian is holding that intention, and you're holding that intention, it seems to be amplified somehow. And we say things to the clients like, feel what it would feel like in all the cells of your being to wake up in the morning and be so excited you can't wait for the alarm to go off. You're jumping out of bed because you're so excited to start your day and go to your job. And that's how my days are every day. I don't
Mm.
even set an alarm. I get up and I'm excited to start the day. What's going to happen today? What challenges? What opportunities? It's so fun.
So manifesting your dreams and desires and all of that good stuff because you're operating at a higher vibration where you can get into tap into higher levels of consciousness to create, essentially.
Absolutely. You can't manifest in a place of hate and fear and anger. If you look at David Hawkins' work, Power versus Force and Eye of the Eye, he's brilliant
Mhm.
and was brilliant. And we've tested people before and after with his
Muscle testing.
frequencies. And that's been really fun. They go from a space of, maybe anger or fear to a space of joy and love.
Well, that's interesting, right? Have you found yourself like when you go through your process through the harmonic egg and you set your intentions, right? And you come out, is it like a one and done deal or is it something you have to keep going back to?
It's like layers of the onion. So, like I was telling you earlier, I was a hot mess, and I can still be a hot mess certain moments of the day. Trust me,
Sure.
I am so not perfect. I still get upset when people cut me off in traffic and then, so it's like layers of the onion. So I feel like what it works on first is the physical, and it's working with the different subtle energy bodies. So sometimes people will start to see the physical ailments dissipating, being helped, you know, but then you look at what is that connected to? Mostly it's connected to an emotional trauma. So after the physical and the environmental and the smells that we smell, we'll smell heavy metals, we'll smell rancid oil, we'll smell sometimes mold, mildew. There's two different smells to those. And then it goes to a next level of the spiritual. So I feel like that's where I am right now, working on my intuition, working on owning my own power, finding my own sovereignty, not letting this outside world get me down, because there's always going to be something we can be angry about. But when we live in that place of anger, it's really the root of fear. And I want to stay in a place of love. So I created a company with brand attributes of love, community, reliability, and integrity. And I feel like it's more of a matriarchal business model versus the franchise model of the patriarchal. And I wanted to get away from that. And I wanted to have an organization that wasn't top heavy. I don't want to be the rich one at the top. Elvis Presley used to say, it's lonely at the top, but I love that lonesome feeling. But I really don't want, I want to bring everybody with me. I want to level that abundance. So it's not just top heavy, that we're all abundant and we're all staying in a place of love and support and service together, and not going to that really bad perfume to wear of fear and desperation.
You're speaking my language. Well, how do people who have like that wanna incorporate the harmonic egg into their business, right? Or start an alternate healing practice or go into business, right? Like you're very smart, you're very intelligent. I can hear the project manager in your voice. How do you how are you successful in this, right? Because it's like it's alternate, it's like it's holistic, it's not mainstream, right? Like you don't see commercials during football games. You see, you know, all these big pharma commercials, right? How are you successful in this game?
So that's a great question, because we don't really have science, because I can't stand the word science, because I know that 90% of the medical science out there is not repeatable. So if you can't repeat it, then it's not science. And so we don't have the science, and you're right. So how are people finding the egg? How are people, they're not finding it on the, Super Bowl commercials. I've tried to do advertising, but they're guided to the energy. Even I have cleaning ladies that come over to my house. They will be a mile away from my house. They said they can feel the egg energy. I have friends that come over. They said, I pull into your subdivision. I can almost just drive my car to your house because I can feel the egg energy. And I feel like the people who are ready for it are guided to it. And so people will be listening to this and they're going to say, oh my gosh, I feel that in my heart. I feel that in my cells. I got to go find a harmonic egg. Or they're gonna be like, what is this crap? It's a large wooden egg, whatever. Just great. This girl's crazy. So they'll be guided to it. And I'd say 99% of the egg buyers will tell me that the egg spoke to them. It is somehow a living consciousness, a living technology, and it has a grid system. So when you tap into the grid, the energy field of the eggs, I literally had a lady go into an egg in Belgium and tell the egg guardian, the egg in Peru is now on the land there. I feel it. I feel it now in this Belgium egg. Trey, what's that about?
Mm-hmm.
Is
Mm-hmm.
that us tuning into a consciousness? It's kind of scary because I'm an engineer. So it's like, okay, is there any brainwashing going on? What is happening? And then I see these other energy modalities and I see the people behind them and I get a sick feeling in my stomach. And I'm like, is there energy in that device? Because if it is, I don't feel good about putting my energy into it. So there's this whole thing that I'm struggling with in this human body to try to serve and support, but I feel like I'm not good enough. They chose me to do this large wooden egg. Who am I? I'm not perfect. And it's scary. It's a huge responsibility. And I signed up for it, but sometimes I just feel like I'm not worthy. Like, why did they choose me?
Well, that's the programs, right? That's what society says to us. That's the Western mindset. Like I come up against those walls all the time. Like when you talk about like that feeling, that body not feeling right when you hear about other modalities or whatever. Like it's kind of like our Western brainwashing of like, if you're not doing these things, you're not doing the right thing. And so you should be ashamed of yourself, or, dogmas or religion, or even, just like in school and in college, right? Like science, like you said, has to be repeated measures. It has to be measurable. It has to have, cause and effect, it has to have literature on it. It has to be, it has to, has to be published. If it's not published, then it's rubbish, right? Like, so I get you. Like there are things out there that naturally make me feel weird, right? Like just because it's not mainstream, right? The way that I go about it is how does it make me feel though, right? Like how in my heart of hearts, like when I'm actually doing it or practicing it, like what does it feel like? And my body's never going to lie to me about it, right? Like the heart's never going to lie to you about it. This feels good to me. Like this feels genuinely relatable as far as my sentient being goes, that this is something that can help the body. Because like to your point about Julia Cannon, the body speaks to us when we're out of line. The higher self, when we have disease, is speaking to us saying that we need to listen more. The vibration in my ear right now is probably my higher self saying, hey man, what are you doing? I'm trying to speak with you here and you're not following the path, and we're going to turn this bad boy up a little bit louder until you hear that message. you know um I read her book. It's fascinating. There's so many different things out there that people kind of, they kind of, don't take seriously, but I think it's all in how you resonate with it, really. And it's just like Dolores Cannon, she talks about the universe spoon fed her, because she wasn't ready when she wasn't ready. And people will hear this and they'll either be ready to hear it or they won't be. And then 5 years from now, when they're ready to hear it, they'll be like, why didn't I listen then? But it's all in your due time. It's your evolution of consciousness. Like 5 years ago, I would have heard the harmonic egg, and I would be like, what are you talking about? I'm not sitting in that thing. But now I'm like really curious. I want to get in vibe. I want to get in that consciousness. I want to get in Edgar Casey consciousness, and I want to, resonate with that and see what it feels like. Connect. Talk to my
Yeah,
higher
no.
self.
You got to get egged, right?
Get
I had
egged.
I had the Santa Clarita, California Center. I had a lady in there, and she was a younger woman. She didn't know who Royal Rife was, and she said some guy was in here energetically, and she said, and this is what he looked like, and he had a cigarette, and the center owner of the egg guardian there knew exactly who she was talking about. So he brings up a picture of Rife, and he said, was this the guy? And she's like, yes. She said he was tweaking knobs and dialing stuff, and it was so funny. So I feel like, if I can say this, I think these guys are proud of me. I had a lady who just left the Edgar Casey Institute. She worked there for a while and she left, and she was guided to find me. And she said, I feel like Edgar guided me to you to help you with your marketing and strategy and stuff. And then I was on with George Norrie Coast to Coast, and he said, you know what, Edgar Casey would be proud of you.
He would
And
be
like, I
proud of
just
you.
wanted to ball my head off. I was like, oh my gosh, it's so insane. I just feel like I've tuned into something that is a wisdom of the universe that we can all tune into, but we can't tune into it if we're not quiet in our mind and we're texting and on the computer and driving and talking on the phone, and we're watching TV while we're trying to read a newspaper, or I guess newspapers are a thing of the past, but reading a book and watching TV. We don't spend enough time to just stop and listen to our bodies. And I was listening to one of your interviews when you said how you're affected by sugar and how you're starting to get affected by animal proteins. Same. I can't eat sugar anymore. I get a right side headache, and that's where they communicate with me. So I think it's a little bit interesting how they give me the right side headache when I eat this toxic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about listening to our body and not putting these toxic chemicals into them. And when we're clean, it can be a good and a bad thing, because I think we can be too clean in this dirty world. But when we're clean, I think the messages come through cleaner.
100%. 100%. I I believe I know that.
Yeah.
Um, I don't like. I don't think drinking alcohol is bad. Like I don't think you know. I used to drink all every weekend, right? Like every weekend. And when I started getting into meditations and consciousness and tapping into that higher self, like I just I don't want to mess with that, you know. Like I don't want to be fuzzy brained, you know. Like I don't want to. I want it to be a clear connection. I want to be able to hear them, like when I'm walking down the street or sitting in my car or just sitting here speaking with you. Like I'll just, you know, I'll get a hit or something like that, and I want that all the time because you know, it's important to me.
Yeah.
And anything that I'm doing that is a distractor to that, like, you know, not that drinking alcohol is bad, like, you know, trust me, there are days where I definitely want a beer, but I just know that the work is so important. Like I can hear the service in your voice. Like you want to help people, you want to help others, and it's very important to you. And like, you know, they are proud of you. You know, like you're doing the work. You're getting, you've created this. You put all of this heart and soul into this. You know, and you're connecting with that higher self, and you're trying to awaken people. You're trying to help them connect with the higher self. I
Trying
mean,
to get people to be empowered and think for themselves, because if you listen to Dr. Zach Bush, which I really enjoy his communications, he said he closed his medical practice because he realized he was doing people a disservice because they were coming to him to be healed. And he said, I don't want that. I want people to learn how to heal themselves. And so he's creating programs like a journey to resonance and journey to consciousness. I'm not sure which word he uses, where he's going to teach people about breath work and tuning into your own bodies. And he also says, you know, there's nothing wrong with, you know, marijuana and plant medicine, but a lot of people take it to escape and not really to find themselves. So he said there's, you know, a fine line between what how much you do. And he feels like, you know, in breath work, you're never going to mess up your photons and your cells, and it's just breathing.
mhm.
And that's why I feel that the harmonic egg is a safe place to quote unquote heal and to be with yourself. You're not affected by another healer's energy that they might be having a bad day. They may have gotten cut off in traffic. They may have, you know, they may have a hangover. They may have had too much sugar the day before. So are they a clean communication to help you? Or are they a disruptor to your own healing? Where the egg is a consistent and repeatable device. And definitely don't want me put my hands on you some days because you're probably going to get some of my stuff. So I feel like it was just the perfect modality to bring through and not using a lot of plastics and metals and just like you said, I want to help people. I want to wake them up. Not that it's bad if they're sleeping, not if it's bad if they're doing anything, because the place that I want to be in is of love and non-judgment. And I'm here to serve when people are ready.
Hmm. Mm, I love that. Manifesting, right? I think that is mm, I think people you're hearing it more now, right? Like I think people are just on that manifesting, right? Like to me, I think it's important to understand like the vibrations and consciousness that are associated with that or like are very important to understand that they are correlated. Like you have to have a high vibration and a higher consciousness to manifest like, you know, a lot of the things that you wish for. Um, would you agree with that?
100%. Yeah, you're not going to manifest what you want in a place of fear and anger and rage and hate. You know, it's almost like that. You know, you're in that love place, you're high vibration, things are just flowing, everything's moving. I am so blessed and I am in so much abundance. I don't need or want anything. I have everything. It is so perfect how my life flows. I mean, down to this most stupid thing. Like I say, I gotta send that out to my sister. So I need a box that's about yay big. And the next day, my Amazon package comes and it's the box exactly what I need. I mean, it's just as simple as that.
Mhm.
And I manifest like a crazy person. It's amazing.
I have found, um, in terms of manifesting, like it can be tough. Like especially, I don't know if you have kids or not.
No.
Um, just three kids over here. We both work. My wife and I, and so the daily grind gets on us, right? Like depending on what you're doing. Like it sounds like you're doing what you love. So you are in a space of high vibration and joy, and you're just loving everything you're doing over there. So, like, I just feel like you're manifesting it, like you said, like crazy. Everything's coming to you in an easy flow of things. You're in the vortex. Where some people like myself who get bogged down, just I'm not kids. I'm not saying kids lower your vibration, but let's face it here, right? Like they have the potential to, not because of like their meaning or their intent. It's more or less like just that's life, right? So for me, I found you got to find time for yourself, like you really do, to get in those vibrational states. And for me, it's been running and meditating, and yes, I can't, I'm not doing those things at 9 or in the middle of the day because of my work schedule. I have to find time for myself in the morning. So it's like I got to make sacrifices. I got to do these things because it's that important to me. But when people get into this, they start raising the vibration. Is there something that your technique that you teach, or a method through the harmonic egg that manifests things quicker, or is it like, um, is that just it? You just got to raise your vibration.
So that's a great question. It is tough. I don't have children. My sister has a child, and she sometimes calls him an ungrateful freeloader, and he harshes her energy buzz. And so,
Energy vampires.
yeah, that is a tough one. But I feel like when you put yourself in a place to be present, you can be grateful for all there is in this moment, and that's raising your vibration. Staying in a place of gratitude and love. And I've had people come out of the harmonic egg who are really stressed corporate people. They don't really enjoy their job, but that's how they make their living. And you see them skipping to the bathroom, and they're serious people, and they're not that childish type person. And when you see them skipping to the restroom, it's hilarious. And it brings so much joy to my heart, because then they're having that childlike playfulness, and they're happy and they're light and they're blissful and they're spending that time in joy. So maybe when they go back to the office and they're at that higher vibration, things that would have bothered them or made them angry, maybe they handle it in a different way.
Mhm.
Same with parents. So I think there's a lot of kids who have a lot of emotional abuse right now because parents are so stressed out, and they're lashing out at whoever's standing in front of them, their partner, their kids. And so I think through the use of sound and light therapies, we can change generations of people. And so I invented a new device called the Lift, or the Let It Flow therapy. It's going to be used for the home. And so when people put this in their home, you can say to your wife or your partner, I need to go get a lift because I'm going to say something that I really don't mean and I don't want to say right now. So I'm going to just go jump in to get a lift. And when you come out, you'll handle situations in a different way. You'll handle your kids in a different way. And your kids won't learn that emotional abuse is normal and domestic violence is normal. So I really feel like it could change generations of people by just getting a lift during the day.
Mhm.
Even if somebody just goes and meditates or just goes and takes a walk in nature. Because we do, and I'm totally guilty of saying things that I regret to this day to people that I know I hurt people to the core, and I didn't mean it, but in the place that I was, I know I said it, and you can't take that back.
Mhm. That's awesome. Lift. Give me a lift. Is that kind of like the harmonic egg, like a miniature one, or?
It won't have the same sacred geometry. It won't be an egg shape. It's going to be more of a capsule, but it'll still be a sound and light resonant chamber. So you're still going to be enclosed. Smaller cubic air sprays, different sound system, different light system. But yes, same concept.
Hmm. What can you heal in the harmonic egg, can you, let's say diseases, like, is this isn't just for anxiety and stress, right? Like this is for serious medical conditions.
So we can't make any claims, as you know.
Sure.
But if the body doesn't know disease by name, then what can't you heal? Do you believe when you break a bone, it's going to heal? Sure you do. Do you believe when you cut yourself, it's going to eventually stop bleeding and scab over and heal? Sure you do. So why don't you believe that you can heal from Parkinson's or the big C or asthma or allergies or insomnia? We can. It's an imbalance somewhere in the body. And so it could be an imbalance in a chakra. You bring that back into balance with an instrument, of the sound waves of an instrument and a color. But a lot of it is also emotional trauma at a deep level. And so as you peel back the layers of the onion, you'll see different things fading away. All of a sudden, you don't have insomnia anymore. And boy, you can breathe through your nose now. Why is this all of a sudden?
Mhm.
And I've had people come in and say, well, I couldn't breathe through my nose for 40 years. And after I did a session, I can breathe through my nose. But maybe it's because, the weather changed and the wind was blowing in a different direction, because you can't, it's so subtle. It's hard to say, well, that silly thing that I just laid in an egg and listened to some sound with some colored light, that couldn't have been it.
Mm-hmm. It's like the analytical mind doesn't want to accept that, right? It's like, no, it wasn't that. It was something totally different.
Yeah, it was because today I woke up and had an egg over hard instead of over medium, right? So,
I love it. That's what I love, hypnotherapy too. Like I'm really into that. Because I feel like Edgar Casey was tapping into that super conscious, right? Like he was, I don't know. Like I love Dolores Cannon's work. I love Dolores Cannon's work because that's going inside, right? Like that's going inside and healing yourself. Like, I mean, you're like the conscious mind is taking a step back and you're tapping into that higher self, which knows everything and is able to instantaneously, well, heal some things if it's your path, if it's your journey to heal, you'll do that. But sometimes people have things and diseases because that's their experience, right?
well, I can't remember which interview it was on. It was sometime in the last week or so. And, what if we have soul contracts with people and we say, you know what, will you come and be on planet Earth with me this lifetime and show me what it's like to be murdered?
Mm-hmm.
Would you come with me and be my mom in this next lifetime and let me experience autism so I can show the world what a beautiful expression autism is? I mean, we don't know. And so people say, well, why would God want to, or the universe or source, why would they want suffering and disease? But we always learn something from that. I learn from my suffering all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always comfortable, but healing's not comfortable. It's also not an event. It's a process. There is no one and done. If maybe in medicine, you take a blood pressure pill and your blood pressure comes down. Well, that's one thing, but are you really looking at the root cause? And if you just keep ignoring it and taking a pill to make it better, then what is exasperating in the body that you're not listening to? Your body gave you that message and said, you know what, you have high blood pressure because you're not drinking enough water. And, we need you hydrated. And you just take a pill and you don't drink any water. Well, it's going to keep getting worse and worse. And then you're going to need another pill because something's going to, some side effect or something's going to happen. It's a vicious circle.
Sure.
So I pride myself in saying, okay, if I get a pain in my left big toe, I'm going to look it up. What's the left big toe mean? I'm that crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Yeah. A lot of the back stuff, right? Like I think Dolores or Julia was talking about like support, like you don't feel supported or something like that. Like now that when I start feeling symptoms of something like a throat, like a sore throat or something, you're not speaking your truth. Like
Right.
I'm always searching in our book, trying to, all right, what, yeah, just to your point. Oh, my left toe hurts. What is it?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like, wow, yeah, like I can get that. Right. Um, I think my mom, she had something going on with her hip. And I think it was like, I looked at Julia's book and it was something with an important decision. And we talked about it, and sure enough, she was dealing with a very important decision in her life. And I was like, oh, well, there you go. Like the body doesn't lie. So,
Body doesn't lie. There's a book on my shelf. The body never lies.
when did you start receiving messages? Like, how did that develop? Like, how did you develop that two-way communication?
Um, I think I had it since I was born, but I suppressed it because I would be in situations where I kind of knew what was going to happen, and then it happened and I would just blow it off. But I started to really realize it about my mid 40s. So I'll be 52, the 28th of
You look
October. So
great.
a couple weeks.
52. You
Thanks.
look great.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some anti-aging going on with the sound and light therapy. And who says we have to age? I'm not going to accept that. So I feel like it was my mid 40s where I was at a networking event and somebody was talking about their brother that was in the hospital. And I said something about staff earlier. I was standing around in the circle and all of a sudden I heard he has staff. And so I blurted it out. I didn't even know what staff was. And I blurted out, I'm like, he has staff. And they're like, that's what the hospital said. And I'm like, where did that come from? And then it just started happening more and more. And I started trusting it more and more. And now my niece thinks that, I'm her, I do parlor tricks for her. My brother and my niece will get on the phone and they'll text me a picture and they'll say, what's this guy about? What's this girl about? What do you think of this person? And I just tune in. I'm okay. They don't have any siblings. They don't get along with their dad, but they're kind of a mama's boy. And they're like, how do you know this? It's universal energy. We all have this gift. If we can lift that stupid veil that is preventing us from coming into our own power, and we lift that and tune into all that energy that is out there, it's not magic. It's our right to have that and to know that.
Hmm. Does this come in thought forms, or do you hear like an actual audible voice?
So I don't hear the audible voice. For me, it's that ring in the ear when I know I'm right. When I say something and I get the ring, I know I'm saying a truth. It is a gut feeling. So is it the clairsentient that you know that you know that you know? So some people will say, how do you know? I said, I don't know. I just know. Well, I Googled it. I couldn't find anything. Sorry. I just know that I know. And it's true. And there's a voice that's in my head. I don't hear a voice. I don't know if it's a woman or a man, but I hear it and it comes into the right side. But it almost is like a message that's put into my brain or an idea that's put into my brain that comes in through the right side. I can't explain it.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm developing that skill for myself, like trusting it more. It is because like how do you discern that, right? Like, because the analytical mind wants to say, no, you're wrong. You're making that up, right? Like, so there's things that I do. I mean, I have little experiments that I set up, and I keep a journal, like whenever I'm doing that. And it's fascinating, some of the work, some of the evidence that I've been able to like support that we have these gifts, like, I don't know. It's so fascinating, Gail. I don't know.
No, totally. I was watching a podcast today. A gentleman reached out to one of my center owners and said, you know, this person is an inventor, Gail needs to talk to him and blah, 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 blah. And as soon as I started watching the podcast, I said, okay, I'm not going to learn anything from him. He's a very cute old man. He has some interesting things to say, but I'm not resonating with it. And it's just an energy that I feel there's too much ego. And I feel like you have to be humble to bring some of this stuff through. And if you get your ego involved, you're going to be on the wrong radio station, if you know what I mean.
Hmm. So you got that from a podcast?
Mhm.
Listening to somebody talk?
Yep.
Crap. What did you get from mine?
Well, I loved your
Oh
energy.
crap.
I loved your energy. I loved how humble you were in finding your path and saying how we're here to learn and we're here to grow, and how you are listening to the messages that are coming through to you. When I read those 3 paragraphs on your about page, I was like, we're going to have a great conversation because this guy's lovely. And I really picked up a really good pure, loving energy from you.
Well, thank you. I try to be the most authentic version of myself that I can possibly be. And it hasn't been easy. I can tell you that. Like it has not
Especially
been easy.
as a male, as a masculine, being. Society teaches you, like you said, you're learning to be more present and honest with your wife
Hmm.
and letting her see you cry. If I walk into my horse's stall and I say, "Oh yeah, hey, what's going on?" but I'm inside, I'm not being authentic to her, she will turn her butt to me.
Mm.
Literally, she'll turn around and be like, "You are being fake right now." But if I go in there and go, "You know what, baby girl, I've had a bad effing day and, it's terrible, blah, blah, blah," she will just nuzzle up to me because I'm being my authentic self.
Yeah. Heart first. That's what I'm trying to do. Heart first. But it's tough when you get out there and you're surrounded with um, people that get caught up in this drama that we're in, right? We say asleep, but I don't know any other word to use other than that. You know what I mean? Like this to describe it. Because when you're awake and you can see how everything is connected, when you live in that God state, right? That God consciousness, when you can kind of zone back and see the macro, it's easy to get pulled into that human nature side of us when we get into the drama and like you think that you are this personality. I think you said earlier on, like, who is Gail,
Yeah.
right? Who is Trey?
Right.
It's just a role, just a personality. Consciousness is forever. Consciousness is eternal. You know, it doesn't have a gender. And when you go out into these societies and you go out into the cities, you go out to the public and you see the hate and the war that's all within us. That's all within us expressing in our physical realities what's inside of us. And that's why it's like I love doing these having these conversations because it's like the little light that we can shine from this, right? Like the energy is putting that back out there so people can listen and hopefully resonate with this and spark some curiosity to like go pick up a book about healing, go check out Gail Lynn and her Harmonic Egg and see what it's about and try it out. There's one in Bel Air, Maryland, guys. If you're in Baltimore, there's going to be one in Bel Air, Maryland. Let's get on that bad boy and let's take it for a test run. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think I try to plant seeds because I now know at my young age of 52, I now know that you can't force anything down anybody's throat because then they just push you away, push the information away. But you can plant seeds and you can be a role model. And so I will go to stores and people laugh at me. I say hi to everybody. I wave to everybody. I wave to the construction guys coming through the neighborhood. I wave to my neighbors. And I just try to be friendly. And
Mm-hmm.
I think my dad was the same way. He would tell everybody, "Have a nice day, have a nice day." Um, but I just try to bring some joy to everybody's life. Even a smile could change somebody. They're having a bad day and we don't know what they're going through. So if somebody treats you like crap, that doesn't mean you treat them like crap back. You smile and tell them to have a nice day
Yep,
because we don't know
absolutely.
what they're going through.
Mm-hmm. Can talk to you all night, Gail. You just have
Well,
that
hey, do you
effect.
watch the show or the Orville? Have you ever seen the show The
No.
Orville?
Uh-uh.
You have to watch it. Seth MacFarlane. Um, it is so deep. I think you would love it. It is such a deep, there's so many deep messages. And one of the things he said, we were talking about anti-aging, and one of the characters said, would you live forever if you could? And he said, yeah, I want to see what happens. And I kind of want to see what happens. I think our world is headed for some really amazing things. I think a lot of stuff still needs to change and we're going to go through it. But I'm really optimistic that we're going to come out better than we ever have on the other side. And, a lot of people communicate the doom and gloom, but maybe I'm just fooling myself.
Ah, I want to see I want to see myself and my family and my kids live our fullest potentials as creators, as co-creators here on this in this reality. Like I want to have fun, you know, like I want to be able to stand on the beaches in Hawaii and know that I've created that, you know, like that instance, like this moment here, you know, like consciously create it, you know, not I mean, I've said this before. I've created my entire life with every yes and every no, but it was unconscious. Like I was just going through the motions. I wasn't really fully aware of what I was saying yes to or no to, even the non-decisions. But I've built this life through my choices, and it was unconscious. And I was in my ego, and I was asleep. Now that I'm awake, I wonder where it's going to go.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. I've done the same thing. And I realize, like I said earlier, I was the greatest common denominator in my failed relationships. And, you take a step back and I say, how can I create a different reality for myself? When I had money, I was unhappy. When I didn't have money, I was happy. So I'm like, okay, I got to shift that reality. So now it's, I have abundance and I'm happy. So we're constantly making decisions to shift our reality. And if we're just in the simulation, let's just change the simulation.
There you go. Reset that bad boy.
Yeah,
Mhm. Gail, how can people find you?
it's pretty easy. Harmonicegg.com is the Harmonic Egg website. All the music that I've created for the Harmonic Egg is available there. My book's available there. How to use sound and light at home. I put in the book. I put a lot of references as to why sound and light work with the body. There's testimonials in there. There's my life history in there. And then letitflowtherapy.com is the sound and light therapy for the home.
Mm. Gail, thank you so much for taking the time. This has been a beautiful conversation.
Thank you. I really enjoyed meeting you.